and the legislative body is the alderman, and the administrative side is the mayor's office, and the legislative side makes ordinance and law. They are the ones that actually, you know, usually recommend those things, other than it's things within our responsibility of whether it's budget, introducing budget ordinance stuff. So that is a function of the alderman, and I'm only here strictly Tommy, you and John, ever how y'all want to do this, if y'all want to select one of you as a chairman, one of you as a whatever, a vice chairman, and ever how y'all want to do it, to pick have some other members be on a committee to serve with y'all as y'all address these things, that's completely up to y'all's discretion. But as far as the running the meeting or anything, I'm just going to be a silent voice over here to and when somebody asks me questions of what's going on with something that I know of or issues that we've had within town. I have some ideas that, you know, there's a lot of things in town that are really not fair as far as when we start dealing with our signs. For example, and I don't want to get into this, but, you know, up there on the railroad spur, you have private businesses that are advertised on city property or public property, as well as a church, Our Lady of Lourdes, up there on that railroad spur. There's things like that. You know, those are things that need to be addressed to be fair for everybody, that I think is some good can come out of these meetings that y'all can have and talk about. And again, you know, Tommy, you and John I'm gonna let y'all take over, but I'll let y'all run your meeting, and again, y'all decide whether who you want to be on the committee to serve, to have some say and maybe authority in you know, trying to formulate this thing. So that being said, you guys.
Well, the point I want to make is, as far as we're concerned, we don't know as much as other people, you know, as far as their thoughts about it. Just like the point you made a while ago. There's a lot of things in these signages that are not like they're supposed to be as far as this goes. But again, I go back to the point that I always made is, it takes somebody to enforce them.
I agree.
And that's the problem we've always had. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. The problem we had with the big sign at racetrack, if it would have been like the ordinance said, it wouldn't be there, because after 90 days, it should have been down. That's what it stated in this ordinance. Isn't that right?
You're talking about the political sign.
I'm talking about the big sign,
Clarion sign.
just like the big racetrack. It was a racetrack sign that was there that was a sign.
Right.
It was not a billboard, it was a sign for their business. Once that business left, they had X number of days to replace it with another sign or to take it down.
But
that's what the ordinance said.
But the ordinance does allow an off-premise billboard, which that is an off.
No, but I'm saying if it would have never been there if it would have been adhered to by the ordinance.
But, yeah, well, that's what he's saying, is when the racetrack closed the
So
business.
you're saying when it shut down, they should have.
Well, it states it in the ordinance.
If they weren't gonna replace it.
If they weren't replacing with another sign, it states in here they got 90 days to replace it or remove it.
You talking about taking the entire structure down?
Yeah, the structure is supposed to come down. It states that in this ordinance. That's just one instance of, and there's more in town like that. If they're not replaced in a certain period of time, I mean, they need to be brought down. So the biggest thing was enforcement. You see what I'm saying? Because it wouldn't have never even had that controversy we had with that sign if it would have been gone. And that's just one of many that's in town. You see what I'm saying? And there's others that, if you go around town, I hadn't made my loops yet, but I'm gonna ride around. I just wanna see others that are still there that should be down. But you gotta have somebody say, okay, it's been 90 days. The ordinance states after a sign's been up for 90 days, if you are in a business, you move out of that business, you come back to a business that's not replaced within 90 days, the structure even has to be removed, which makes sense to me, you know. That's just one part of this sign deal that I looked at that compared to, you know, we had something to compare to, you know.
You know, the other thing too, that you think about is the sign, the size of them. You know, I mean, it talks about on pole signs, 32 square feet. You know, some of these signs are around town, well, even that billboard up here that is in Stem, that's bigger than 32.
That's right.
But you know, the thing is they've been up there so long.
Well, I mean, yeah, that would not be something, just like I said with this, at this point, I think it's mute, because it never was enforced.
Yep.
And no matter what we do to change it, it's basically, I'd say grandfathered in, because it was what it is what it is, but from that point on, somebody to enforce that. And then you go LED. This don't even, I mean, there's so much stuff that's involved in that nowadays with, which in my opinion, go through any town nearby, you see them, you know, those LEDs are all over, you know?
Well,
And they don't
yeah.
just have that one color on them either.
Yeah.
If you look at them, it's multicolored, you know, with that, so.
Well, you know, the problem is just those signs over the years have gotten so much more, so much less expensive.
Right.
And are affordable now for a lot of smaller businesses,
right.
and they say, hey, I can get this now,
Right.
and I know,
And it does draw attention, you know, to your business like that, which I think that's a good thing in some senses, you know. You don't want somebody to have a wreck because they're looking at the sign, and I guess that was the potential back in the day. When you look at those signs, is that gonna be distracting to the driver? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I've seen some bright ones that would be distracting, that I've went through towns that catch your attention really good.
Some other things I think in clarity, and this is just, I'm thinking out loud for y'all, it's just, once you come up with changes you wanna make, understand that people can go to the Board of Adjustments if they want to try to get a variance on something that's in this code. The Board of Adjustments can meet, look at it, and make a ruling on it. If whoever they ruled against, if there's somebody out there that don't like the ruling, they can go through an appeal process, whether it's the Planning Commission or the Board of Adjustments can come to the Board of Aldermen to appeal a decision of the Board of Adjustments or the Planning Commission. So, y'all keep that in mind when y'all hear some of these things about the Board of Adjustments did this or that. Well, did anybody come file an official appeal to a decision that the Board of Adjustments made? That's information and communication that people don't know that's out there. They just get mad and go run all over town and say, you know, can't believe they allowed this. Well, did you come find out what the process is? How can I go against what they did and allow this mobile home here? They allowed this sign to be put up here. There's an appeal process that they can go through, get on the agenda, and appeal the decision of the Board of Adjustments. Now, that comes with responsibility, because sometimes if the Board of Adjustments is looking at something, there's always gonna be somebody that don't like what happened if they were adjusting somebody. And if they appeal it, it's gonna wind up putting the council in the middle of all
Right.
those skirmishes.
Right, but then it would come back to the board, I guess, at that point, right? On the-
Well, that's what
on
I'm
the
saying, but
appeal.
what I'm saying, it's gonna put y'all to the point of having to see every decision they make, and it's gonna put y'all as being the bad or good guys, and the Board of
But that's-
Adjustments or Planning Commission, if it's done a lot, they're just gonna go like, why do y'all need us?
Yeah. well,
Just throw us out. I don't wanna come spend my time, no pay, and spend time and listen to all this griping and stuff, that every time we make a decision, the council's gonna overturn it. That's something for y'all to consider, what is the best thing to do.
But I don't know if that would always be the case, that it'd always be overturned, but it also gives us the opportunity to review it as a board with 5 votes or whatever it is, to say, this is what we feel, or this is what the people in our part of our town feel.
Yeah.
Or-
We've had, if memory serves me correct, we've had one instance where it was appealed back to the board. And the board upheld the Board of Adjustments ruling. So it doesn't happen very often, but it can
Right.
happen if
Right.
someone does that.
Well, I want y'all to know that this office,
Yeah.
me as a mayor have not been to the first Board of Adjustments meeting or the first Planning Commission meeting and had any input or any say in any decision or even know about them at times. I let that be an independent function of those people to do that, because I shouldn't be going in there trying to influence people to do things.
Right,
So-
I mean, that's a committee functioning, that's a function of the
committee
committee.
function. But if there's a resident on whichever side of the decision they on, I just want y'all to know that y'all might start seeing that on an agenda.
Oh, yeah.
If somebody, and it's gonna flip the ball in y'all's court to make those decisions.
And that's basically what it says in here, you know, that that's what can happen.
It's in one of
you know.
these, somewhere.
Right. Which
I'm
that
sorry, I
can
didn't mean to
happen.
interrupt. I just wanted y'all to be aware that
I do like the idea of having, some business people or something like that on the committee. Someone different.
I agree.
You know, who that would be and who would volunteer to do that, I don't know.
Well, I had a lengthy conversation today with one that might be a good,
Well,
Steve Weeks.
We
Yeah, he called me a while ago,
Yeah.
talking about, you know,
We could ask him to serve or someone like that, but I think it's needed, and the insight, on it. As far as chairman, I don't have to be chairman. Tommy wants to be chairman.
no, I don't care about no chairman.
He can be chairman. I don't, the main thing is that there are definitely some things in here that need to be changed. If they're not changed, then we need to, enforce the code, as we can. Because it's a needed thing, so,
If I might, John, I didn't know the mayor was gonna be here and to give his presentation on what he was doing. I jotted a few things down, and this won't take long, because
okay.
I just jotted down that it's my understanding, you know, that the mayor intended to appoint 2 aldermen, and hopefully would be volunteers, to form a commission of a fairly limited number of, you know, resident voters, people that the 2 of you thought would be helpful in doing this job of revising these ordinances. And the purpose was to revise the provisions of this code on outdoor signs to better meet the needs of the people who utilize the signs.
Mhm.
You know,
Which is mainly your business community.
right, but you'd have some
And
like,
churches,
what
which is a
what is the one sign with the guy who advertises several different businesses, and maybe some stuff that's not even in town, I'm not sure. You know, on the billboards that change, that kind of thing. You know, and with an outlook that we're trying to be business friendly while looking out after the basic concerns of the local citizens about signage. You know, keeping in mind what they think and what they like and what they don't want to have and that kind of thing, so.
Chamber of Commerce might, president or somebody with them might be a good person.
Right, I agree.
But I was
That's-
thinking, see, the thing is, the mayor has appointed you 2 as the board members, because we can't have more than 2, because then you're in an
Right.
official meeting. But as the 2 members to form this commission, it's my opinion that the 2 of you now, you know, you need to, I think, get a chairman or whatever you're gonna do.
Okay.
You need to select you some members, trying to keep it with a workable amount of people that y'all think can be helpful in doing this. Adopt some rules, you know, how you're gonna conduct the meetings. I think you need to take minutes, you know, get your secretary, take the minutes. Hopefully somebody might volunteer as a member that would take the minutes, that sort of thing. You know, if the mayor wants me to come to these meetings and just be here for informational purposes to, you know, to answer questions you may have about procedures or something in the code or that kind of thing, I mean, I'm happy to come. So, that's just my little take on what we're gonna be
And
doing.
I don't know that we'd have to have legal here every meeting that we have, you know, necessarily, because
I'm up to,
basically until we get down to finalizing, and you know, some of this stuff's still good in here. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it works. But did this come from a bigger town?
I think there's a lot of federal and state regs in there, and some blended with our old ordinances.
Right.
my memory was, I didn't get involved in it, but this, I can tell y'all, the town's been working to codify its ordinances since I was town attorney in '71.
Right.
So no, yeah, about '71. And I knew a guy from Mobile who came over here, who was the advisor to the town on the codes and ordinances and all that stuff. And back then, we were looking at it, and this municipal code corporation was in business then.
Yeah.
But they're a big outfit, and what they did is they tried to get all of our ordinances, and I'm sure they ran them through computers with programs
Mm-hmm.
that sorted them out and put them in sections and did things. The intent was to take all those ordinances and gel them into a concise code, eliminating all the bad stuff, all the
Right.
silly stuff, all the
Right.
whatever stuff. So that you end up with this comprehensive code that's supposed to be easy to navigate, and you can find things, it's up to date, because they took in all kind of federal regulations and state regulations to make sure that the ordinances complied with them. I think that's what their job was. Now, whether they did it really well or partially well, or, I can't tell you, because I hadn't read that whole thing, so.
Right,
But that was the intent,
right.
and it's a big task. But they did draw on bigger places and bigger
Right.
places that had done these things.
And as you, well, go ahead, Boone.
I do want to say that, and Bobby, you and Bill Murray were a big part of the formulation of this as well, y'all. They met, when we first got in office, we looked at this, and they worked real hard with muni codes and trying to update some of it.
Right,
Now, some of it, of course, didn't,
We were mainly getting rid of stuff that had been superseded by newer ordinances or things that just, we didn't have.
we didn't have a use for in this size, this house.
so that was the last thing that's really been done to this.
Right.
Honestly, I would like, at some point to even look, of course, that would be the planning commission, look at rezoning some things that's just not exactly right now. And there's a lot of things that's out. I have a suggestion and a plan that I'd like to see y'all do is get your game plan and an outline for how you want to start with this, but I think tonight is an organizational meeting. Select you some members that you want, us get material to them agree to do it, and y'all set, these future meetings, sit down and go line item, and give each one, hey, go through this thing, read each line, and that's all come up with.
Say it's good, or let's tweak it, or either say it's good, or let's change it a
Right.
little
Yeah.
bit. Maybe not everything, but a little bit.
But each one of you go through it and read through it, and if there's something that you don't like or understand, then that we need to discuss or talk about that's not realistic.
Well, I know in this
Because
even,
right now, if we just start talking, I would bring up, when I came off the bridge this past week, there was a big old King garage sale sign on the state of Louisiana sign for our welcome people across. I was so mad, I stopped and we jerked that. I'm sorry about the people having a garage sale, whoever sees it. But you do not put garage sale signs on our state of Louisiana, big old pink sign.
But that's the point I'm making. It all comes down to somebody that's,
Well.
gonna adhere to the fact that this is what it says, this is what's gonna happen. And he got the right to do what you did. Now, whether you had the right to do that or not, I don't know, but
I really shouldn't have, but.
probably not. But was it the right thing to do? Probably so,
but
So-
even you can, talking about the ordinance and stuff, I mean, there's things in this one that really almost make it impossible for a bidet to comply with, because of the way it's built. There's so many residential areas that butt up to commercial
Right.
areas.
That's right.
And that sign ordinance has things about no lighted signs within 150 feet of a residence. Well,
That's what Steve talked about today to me,
That's exactly right.
was the fact that that's it.
Yeah.
And,
I think we're all in agreement it needs to be looked at and changed. I think there's no question. I think the two most important things is for y'all to select your committee, set up your meetings, have a good go through and give the information what is in the code to the people, and y'all start setting dates, and just start meeting, going over those things that you'd like to see changed and go with it. And then the second thing is enforcement. We've got to enforce ordinances, because one person, like you said, I felt I should have took that sign off, that state Louisiana sign, because you know what? The next person having a garage sale, we can just say, "Oh,
he
great
did it, I
idea.
put it up there too.
I'm going to go put my sign up there on this thing, so I'm gonna make it really, really big." You see what I'm saying? So somebody ain't gonna rip that sign off there, the next person will go like, "Well, why didn't you take, you took mine down, but you let this guy leave it up there." So we gotta have good enforcement and somebody to enforce it,
Definitely. Just like the attorney that advertised all up and down the highway with sticky end signs for months.
Yeah.
Didn't get pulled up. Stayed right there. I had people call me, what's he doing with that sign? That's advertisement. He's an attorney. I'm an attorney. Can I start doing that? I said, I wouldn't advise it, but didn't nobody do nothing about it. He stayed there for how long? You remember seeing, what's that guy in Fairdy?
I know.
Stayed on the side of the road for months. I wasn't gonna go pull one up, but I had people call me about it, you know?
Well, I always tell them to call.
I know. But that's why, again, we tried to work on that part too, which is enforcement, so, and we got nowhere, so I still say that's the key to the whole thing. I mean, yeah, we can change these things all day long, but until we make sure that person's doing what he's supposed to do, the same for this guy and the same for this guy, then we're not gonna do anything, basically, except change some wording and change some ordinances.
And I honestly think we can take care of both during these meetings and discussion and approvals.
But again, like I said, where are we with that enforcement? That's what we're gonna have to question also. And again, that's not to be discussed really here, but we're gonna have to discuss that in the meeting, which is coming up.
I would discuss where I'm at on it, you know, because there's been discussions on what we talked about 2 meetings ago, as well as what, you know, Chief Mayor talked about last time, you know, as far as us making a strong call on what we wanna do, you know.
Right. But that's, for instance, in the meeting last time, I wasn't here, but I was on the phone, but I didn't even know if he was here, because I was surprised he didn't make a statement. He never said anything, you know, about the fireworks, you know? He never said anything about it. You talked about it. He didn't talk about it, but that's just like the same kind of situation. It was outdated. It was way outdated, because you were the one supposed to be in charge of it. How come you ain't been telling them people to stop using them fireworks? I'm just messing with you. But that's what it said in the ordinance. It said Buzz was, you know, Mayor Kraft, the mayor was responsible in that 1946 ordinance, I thought.
It says, well, I don't know what it preceded, but, you know, it says now in the new edition, fireworks are prohibited.
Right.
It doesn't say the mayor, you know.
But it did in that 1946 ordinance that I read, you know.
But what I'm saying is, it just says now they're prohibited, but then again, if you say that, you gotta throw them sticks because you got, what about fireworks on the river?
Right. I mean, I agree. I mean, it just needs to be quick to where we got a certain time.
And that's gonna be another committee at another time.
That's right. But I'm just saying how many more are there out there that need to be looked at?
Well, just-
Probably.
We know, it's like I said, it's against the law for kids to ride bikes on the sidewalk.
I know.
How foolish is that?
It's crazy
Who
too.
come up with that? I don't wanna know, I hope they're not still alive.
That was in the old days, back in the old town, down there where we had sidewalks, wasn't it, George?
That's back when we used to walk between houses. We
And
didn't
down
want
there on
kids riding
Walnut.
over us with bicycles and knock us
Walnut
off
and
the
Laurel
sidewalk.
and everybody else, because people walked on the sidewalks, you know? Oh, so,
Saturday, when they had to ride it in the gravel streets, it made their legs stronger.
right, that's right, exactly. But, yeah, I guess that's what we're gonna have to do, is find us some committee members, which I knew we didn't do it just be us. I agree with what George said, form a committee. And I'm like you, the Chamber of Commerce, I think is a good, somebody off the Chamber of Commerce, if they're willing to do it. I think that's a good idea. You got any other ideas, John?
No, just getting started, we need to get a chair.
Yeah.
And then
Well, you can chair it. I don't want to chair it. I'm not a chair person. I sure ain't no secretary, so we'll find us a good committee member for a secretary.
Well, I think Jay can serve as the,
He could do the secretary. The thing about it is, y'all are the ones, I still think we need somebody out of City Hall to be on that committee, because you hear the things that people say possibly.
I would like to, well,
If you want to
somebody
be on that
To
committee.
just, not to be here for sure, but not on the committee. You want, basically, I'd be here to record things as best I can.
If you want to do that, but you also should have some kind of say
Well, I would
in what
wanna-
you hear
yeah.
day to day over the years.
Exactly.
and I think that's what,
Oh,
We've heard, we honestly, we've heard the same complaints anybody's heard.
I mean, I hear them every day,
right.
so it,
I think it's a good idea for Pi to be on the committee. I do think we would, we can ask, I don't even know who the chamber president is.
Brian Schumer.
Yeah, I think he still is. My wife knows. You can get it. She's in it a little bit still.
We can ask him if he wants to serve. I think that's a good idea. And then
Well, I agree with you.
What about the chief?
well,
He's gonna have to be one enforcement.
yeah,
That's just a thought, I'm not saying do that, or have somebody in his office as a representative, if they're gonna be wind up being the ones enforcing, because I'd hate to,
Well-
or maybe.
While we're
maybe-
chatting, doesn't the muni codes provide for some kind of enforcement officer in the code itself?
yeah, it calls this.
It names
Honestly,
a code enforcement officer, you know.
different sections call for different people to enforce it. Sometimes it says city marshal, sometimes it says police chief, sometimes it says code enforcement, but it doesn't say who code enforcement was.
Yeah, well, this here talks about a zoning administrator.
Well, the zoning
Which-
administrator would be the IBTS representative, because they're the permitting.
Right.
But, so, yeah, so, you know, when the Board of Adjustment meets, they are, you know, because the owner's there to make his appeal, and it talks about the zoning administrator being, well, they're there, they have a report that they've issued, basically why this mobile home or business or building is out of code.
Mm-hmm.
So they more or less serve as the zoning administrator for the town, because they're the ones handling that code, the permitting process.
I mean, I think
Yeah, see
the
that-
enforcement
and it
provisions
talks
are all over
about
the
in
place.
This ordinance,
Yeah,
it
one time it says
requires
mayor,
to get a
sometimes it says.
permit sign issued by a zoning administrator.
That's, well, they don't, and they haven't had anything to do with signage.
No. So that's one of the things.
What is something you looked at in here, John, that hit you as far as definitely need changing?
Well, there, you know, just, right off the bat, section 1, it talks about signs not exceeding 2 square feet, in area that are not of commercial nature. Well, if you come down through here and you look at it, it says residential banners and flags.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my wife hangs a flag off the house up there, and it's much bigger than a,
That's in section 4267.
you know.
I read that, but I didn't remember what.
That,
It's
that,
section 4267.
that kind of thing.
1D.
There's,
Oh, yeah, I read that.
I mean, it regulates what
there's
signs,
several, you
flags,
know, the
somebody
little
can
thing like the
flag.
lights, that are there.
But the flags they talking about in there, isn't that the deal with their, like, flags that present their commercial, isn't that what it's talking about, commercial promotion and advertisements? Not necessarily an American flag,
Well, this is,
or pennants, like I said, pennants as far as,
this
I
is,
thought that was talking about more the,
this sign is residential use. It's strictly residential.
Make the banner.
Well, they're exempting them from this.
huh?
They're exempting those signs. You talking about residential banners? They're exempting those signs.
Exempt,
Right.
you know,
Right.
That's the,
I've never flown it, but
These are more, I thought they were talking about in this one, in the signs associated with public bodies and schools, such as signs
Yeah.
including,
And they're exempting those from these regulations.
right. Those are exempt.
Yes.
and,
But if
How
you
about
took a
my- how
banner
about my
out there
Mardi
and you
Gras
put it out
king
there with a
sign?
commercial
Yeah, that's,
insignia on it, that's
That's-
not
that's
exempt.
exactly right.
right.
So,
Um,
what was it in here?
One of the things was like, under, illuminating tubes and signs, strings of lights that outline property lines, sales area, roof lines, doors, windows, or similar areas are prohibited. We've got.
What section is that in, John?
That is in.
4268
268.
D and E.
It's on page,
He's like a border, basically, is what that's talking
And
about.
they have, there's a lot of businesses that do that.
well, you got these convenience stores, what's in their light, what's in their windows.
All over them.
That's what I'm saying, it's stuff like that that you see, in here. Of course, the next section talked about the signs, in the color of the lights, being amber or white, no red, signs.
Now, I'm still saying today, it seems like to me that with as much, that's going on electronically and all, I still don't understand the amber and white as much as other colors that could come into play, which would benefit businesses in a sense, maybe not basically just strobe it out there, you know, but to have that different color, sometimes I think that would be a change that needs to be made too. I mean, there's some of them suckers that are red out there in the windows that are red as a beet. You know, you can look at them and they bright as they can be. Some of them flashing, you know.
And I asked Chief Merrill, where there's an issue with that, people have an issue thinking, and he said it's not an issue, he doesn't know why it's in there.
I wouldn't think so. You know, as long as it's not sitting right there on the road, you know, off the road over here.
I think that's one thing that also y'all need to establish is what is public right of way. And what's not.
You mean as far as public right of way, in what sense you talking about that?
I'll give you, for example, right up here in where O'Reilly's is, and you got security finance. Security finance has got an iron frame out there by the highway. It's got a sign that's been wrapped around it. I've been wanting to go by and gun wrap it, go take it to them, but, you know, we cut
Right.
that. I mean, we maintain that, and it's a burden that we eat around.
But I'm saying it should be removed.
Well,
I know where you,
that's what I'm saying. Establish what's public right of way. Anybody put something out there that you gotta work around, weed around, and lawnmower around, it needs to come up.
that's the point I'm making. We get the guy to make the decision, he gonna enforce it, and he pulls it up, and when they say something, they call you, go see him, 'cause he got your sign, I'm sure, he gonna stack it up in his building and wait for you.
That's all I need to do.
That's what I'm saying, because he's the man that took it, and he's got the right to take it, once we do make that call to get an enforcement guy, you know, and go ahead and do it.
As far as the amber and the white lines, I think that's following a Fed,
Maybe so. It may be.
guideline. So
Yeah.
if you look at their signs that they have, especially warning signs and different things like that, they're white or they're amber.
Right,
They're
they
some-
are.
So I think that's where that color came in, that restricted it, especially if it's next to a highway. Which,
One other thing to consider when y'all do this is to change the code to say that no sign can be put on public property or public maintained property. And I'm getting at the area up there on Old Railroad Spur, people put political signs up there, that's not public property, that's private, but it's public maintained. So anybody goes to put something on public maintained property, it's an expense to us to have to spend every time.
Have to stop and pick it up.
To weed eat around it, do all these other things around it. So,
I know what they do in other places, they pick them suckers up and take them back to the barn. That's what they do. I've seen, Faraday does it.
and I think we should do that.
Faraday picks them up and they're gone. Now, they can get them back, but then also, if they put them back on there, that's where that code guy could enforce also during that same time. If returned, they are fined the next number. And I think that's a good deterrent to them
But
doing
we
it
need that
again.
Public maintained.
Right, right.
Not just-
And everybody needs a warning, but don't come back and do it again, you know? So, that's another one. The other thing is, it said here, wherein an area where such trees and shrub are required, there was some in here where you tack your sign on a tree,
you can't,
on a pole,
yeah.
on a, There was one sign stayed on a pole, it was in here, and I knew it was there. It stayed on there for months. It was the church, put a sign on the pole, taped it to it. Another one was on a telephone pole, tacked to it. And that's again, another violation, which I didn't realize was in here till after I read the whole thing, but it was up there for, again, and they don't need to do that. And people don't need to nail them to a pole. So, and all those poles are most of the time on right of way, you know what I'm saying? Telephone pole, light pole. So,
That's under, that's,
I knew I read.
110.
I hope y'all address the garage sale signs that go up, nobody comes back and gets them. I don't have so much a problem as them putting them up a day ahead of time.
Well, where would you put them? If you can't put them
Well-
on the tree, where
well,
would you?
And that's the one that we need to talk about, because I don't have so much problem with it being, it ought to be restricted on where they can put it. But it also ought to be that it will carry an absolute fine. If they don't come
Right.
back within a day or two and get it, it could be a $25 fine if you don't go back and get your sign and pick them up. Or you're gonna take them to stop sign, you're gonna take a little, street light on Carter Street, you know, that they don't tape it around 100 times that you gotta sit there and work to take off and they don't go back and get it.
Well, see, that's in
That's
in
in
there, cause it talks about them being,
$100, isn't it?
they're being exempt from the general regulations that you can put garage sale signs, you know, however they gotta be removed within 1 day
Yeah.
of the completion of the
Put 'em
sale.
up, but you can take them back.
So, yeah.
But that should be easy to enforce.
But
You
how
go
long,
by after,
how long can it stay up?
1 day,
1 day.
1 day.
that's what I say.
Sit after your sale.
But the problem,
But you're supposed to-
it says garage sale. It don't have a date on it. It says garage sale at such and such day. But again, the day they actually put it out, you don't know what it was, you know. But the biggest, only thing you're gonna really enforce basically is the day after, that it was after that day.
Well, and that's where that enforcement officer would go to that address and say,
That's
okay,
right.
no sale there, and
It's
you'll
supposed to
pluck
be
it up. But
Not up 3 days in advance, and then supposed to be taken down 1 day after.
Right, that's what I mean. But 3 days in advance is, I've seen them before, garage sale, such and such address,
yeah,
you know. That's the day they start them, the day they do them, you know. And then they stay there for a week, you know, sitting there. Nobody picks them up.
yeah.
So,
Well, I think once we get the committee, formed and, come up with, a schedule, I don't know if you wanna meet once a month.
I think that's
Thursday
enough.
at 5 o'clock, I mean, I don't know, but once we get it done, then as said.
Once we get our
Read this thing, have all the committee members read this thing line by line.
Line out what you think needs to be looked at.
We may have to meet and just go line by line.
Then we go to George and let him tell us what his thoughts are.
I would like to make one suggestion. This is just, I feel like fair. Anything that we do that might affect some people that's already in town that might have a sign that's existing or proposed to exist, that before the final regulations are made, to invite them to come to one of the meetings to say, hey, look, we're considering doing this. You know, talk us off the ledge, or, you know, you need to maybe start making preparations to do something different. You know what I'm saying? I think that'd be courteous.
And I think you may handle this like you handle some of the other things like, for instance, the electrical code. It's in place, and you can have it that way until there's a change of, owner or something changes it. Like, when I bought my house, it wasn't up to code from the previous owner, so they come and cut my wires and said, gotta bring it up to code. Well, I think we kinda handle the signs like that. If it's something that is, it's already in place, being used, then they're grandfathered unless there's a change. Now, if they make a change, then it has to be brought up
Right.
to this, to the
Right,
code.
and but if there's somebody got a sign on public property, for
Sure.
example, that's, I don't care if you've had it there for 5
Sure.
years, it's not supposed to be.
We
Right.
need to remove those.
That kind of stuff.
Right.
That's different than the electrical because it's hidden, you don't see it. But if you let that allow to do that because they did it, then that's when you get to questions like the lady said up here.
Well,
I got 3 more in town that are doing it, why can't I? You know?
and there's a difference between having, a sign at a business and then a sign that's not on the business away from the bank.
Right.
Personally, if it's not a sign that can be on public right of way, then it ought to be taken off.
Such as that one, that Mayor Crest talking about right up there at that place,
Yeah, that's what.
along with some more that are on
You know.
their own place.
You know, public right of way is public right of way.
I agree.
Is that one?
But I can also understand his point about the city maintain my right of way, even if it is private property, we couldn't it,
Yes.
private property in the sense of along the right of way, then I also think that should be all right to do that too, you know? Now, if they get strict permission from a landowner, I don't know what you could do about that.
Well, in that instance, I went back and checked all the records on that railroad spur. Actually, the property reverts back, supposed to the adjacent landowner after so many years. That's what it is, but we're maintaining it, and Union National Railroad.
Right.
Union Pacific or something like that.
Now, I checked on it too, I knew it was
I
a
tried
railroad.
everything I could to go down the line and try to find somebody that said that, did you give permission for somebody to put whether it's a political sign or a business sign there? And you couldn't, no, I know nobody did that. But just considered it private property, even though we're maintaining it.
Right.
And had to cut around it and mow around and everything else. And I don't care whether it's a business sign or political sign, whatever kind of sign it is, if it's on that public right of way, it needs to come out, period. Because we're having to cut around. And we get paid to do it by the state. State pays us a little bit of money to maintain highway.
But again, they don't want them on there either, I wouldn't think. You know? Legally, you know, they wouldn't want them. So, well, there's plenty to look at, different things, but like I said, some of it, in my opinion, is still good, so we just get us some people on here and get another meeting scheduled and go ahead and do it. If we can get some volunteers to.
How many members y'all want?
Pi's gonna be on it too.
I'd like to have 2 more.
You wanna be on it? That's fine. And at least 2 more.
Ask the Chamber of Commerce, you got 1 more, maybe at-large citizen
Right. And I think that would
to
be.
be on.
We'll look at one, we'll come up with some ideas between us and
It's up to whoever y'all want.
and get 1 more. I think that'd be plenty. But I don't think, George, you don't wanna be here every time, do you?
Not necessarily.
I didn't think so. I didn't think you did.
What do y'all
Joe.
wanting me to do?
Oh, we want you to be the secretary.
And what does that mean? I feel like I'm getting all the
Jay, I'm
stuff
messing-
on here.
I'm messing with you. If you
I
wanna
do
be
want
here,
s- I do
I'm
want
messing with you.
input. Well, only reason I want to be in here is because I'm on the front line out there.
I know
talking to
you are. That's the
people.
reason. I'm messing with you about the secretary.
Well, yeah.
No, but if you wanna be here, I don't have a problem with that.
No,
If you wanna be here, if you don't wanna be here, if you wanna be here for some meetings and not for others, I don't care, you
Let
know?
Pi be the secretary.
That'd
and
be
she-
fine.
She works for the town, and she's
Right.
a committee member, she can take the minutes and all.
I mean, I would like to be in on when the meetings are here, just
Well, we
to
can be
give
here
you
as citizens, I
updates,
mean,
you know.
Right,
And-
right, you can be
and
here either way, you know?
as maybe representing City Hall, if the mayor's not here or something,
Right, yeah, that's fine with me. But like I said, y'all hear the stuff that maybe we don't hear, maybe considerations that we need to look at, which is good input from people that hear more than we do, you know?
Yeah.
We get a call every once in a while. Y'all probably get a call all the time.
Well-
We might have a live
Uh,
dealings with a situation that maybe give insight to without we having to speculate about something, whether it's.
And I was also thinking about, who from City Hall goes and looks at the signs.
Who's from city?
No,
who from City Hall goes, you know, what I mean, we have somebody that goes out there and looks, and we usually have it used to be Brian, he approved it.
Unless they're gonna make a sign application, Jay gets the application, or somebody in the office
Yeah,
does.
I get the applications, and they bring in their proofs, and that's what y'all vote on. And as
Okay.
all I do is make sure that the size isn't out of shape. If I see something right off, okay, well, wait a minute, this is out, you know, then, but by and large, when y'all get it, it's more or less
You've reviewed it.
reviewed it to make sure the size or the makeup, you know, just like when the lady with BBs wanted to bring the LED sign up. I made mention of, you know, and say, look, you know, you might want to be here because this is in the regs, that's not, it's not authorized, and then, you know, the red lighting and things like that, so, but she chose to, so she made 2 applications for y'all to consider,
Right.
so. But as far as like, okay, here's the sign that they said they were gonna put up and y'all approved, there's no one out there to go out, because if it's up there, we don't have the enforcement powers, you know? That's,
Okay.
you know,
Unless
so-
it doesn't match the sketching, and if somebody took a tape measure out there and said, well, you're 2 feet longer. Who's
Exactly.
ever done that? During our administration.
It's been done on the political side.
I'm just saying,
And
but
also, you might say, on the political side, you cannot cut your sign in half to circumvent
I agree with that.
the 5.
I agree with that.
Well,
That needs to be done,
and
I'm
the only-
telling you.
only
Probably
reason-
never happen again.
Only reason why I said, ask who that was, because that might be someone that needed to attend these committee meetings to review the sign shapes, different things like that, but if Jay's doing it,
Well, that's supposed beforehand, but I think that's gonna come in to anybody violating that would come into
That's
the code enforcement.
That's it, that's 100%. Because he'll have to be, at that point, I would think he'd be the man to go out there and check that sign once it's installed and see that it's up to code, you know, what it's supposed to be. Make sure it's not what it's not supposed to be, you know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? You can give a printout all you want and say approved, and then,
I do want
Yeah.
y'all to think about one more sign that we haven't even talked about, people forgot about. John, you might remember, but I remember back in the day when I worked at the bank, you know, the bank got some advertising done because they put these signs on our speed limit sign or stop sign, slow children play, you know, whatever, what the bank,
Right,
whatever,
right.
put your name on it. You know, what is I think that needs to be addressed in case you do have somebody make a push for getting signs to put in your neighborhoods that also has advertising on it that they might pay for, but is that fair? And I don't want to pick on it, I just know that back then they did it, but it needs to be fair, have everybody an opportunity if they wanted to do that, if you're gonna do that, to address that, if, you know, or you're not gonna allow any type of advertising on city signs, whether it's
yeah.
road, speed signs, stop signs, whatever it might be.
but that's not even addressed in here, is it?
Probably not even.
I don't
but
think it's even in there.
It needs to be, because I have had somebody come by and say, hey, look, we need some signs here for, we got kids playing, somebody might buy it for us and put, if they can do this, you know what I'm saying? So, it needs to be addressed so we can go ahead and say, well, no, you can't do that, but either we'll put the sign up, but you can't have it advertised on it. So, I think that needs to be addressed in case it comes up, because it can, because there's signs out there now, right now, that's not legible, that are still up, that we're in that program.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Is this the third Tuesday of the month?
It's
I
a
mean,
Thursday.
Third Thursday of the month?
Yes, I think so, 31st, 30th. This is the 21st, yeah, it's the 3rd.
Okay.
It's
Would y'all-
third.
Meet a month from now,
Would y'all have a problem with having it on the third Thursday? of the month?
fine with me.
And just have that kinda as our schedule?
The next one will be February 18th, if that's the case.
That'll be good, and we'll go ahead and talk to some people.
If y'all want to, y'all can get with Pi, and she can make more copies of the ordinance itself. And she can get it to the people y'all select to go ahead and this is good.
So Pi, if you can, if what I'm saying is Pi can print us out, we know we're gonna have probably 2 members, so just if you can do that and get us 2 more, and then we can ask them if they'll serve and hand them the thing at the same time, if they will do that, if you don't mind doing that. What'd you say now? Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all. I just, that they can go ahead, if y'all go ahead and tell them how you kinda want to do it, say, we're wanting to quit on this first meeting, go ahead and start going through this thing, go ahead and read through it and
Right.
be ready to go on it. Y'all can direct it, guide them through it.
And also, like I said, I may visit a few businesses, just ask them, you know,
And
what they're, if they wanna attend the meetings, come, make them aware of it, you know, cause some of them may not even know about it, so let them give some input, cause they're the ones that's gonna be affected by it, main person, because the other part's just, you know, some that come and go, the garage sale, political, those kind of signs for churches and stuff that, you know, events and things like that, so. But the business owner's gonna be the ones that's, should want to put input into it.
It's gonna affect them the most.
Oh, yeah. So, if they wanna change something, it's the time now is to change it or attempt to change it, let's put it that way.
You think we covered everything we need to this first?
I think you have, I think you've got, I look for a person on the committee, it's up to y'all, who y'all want for that fifth person. I do think it'd be good to have some out of Chamber of Commerce, doesn't have to be the president, could be a board member or something like that. We all know everybody in town, so, I think everybody'd be willing to work to do, this is good, I mean, I just think, and then you come up with, even have an input on how it's gonna be enforced and who's gonna enforce it. Have no problem with that.
And you need to decide on your rules for your conduct of your meeting.
Sir?
Decide what kind of rules you wanna have for the conduct of the meeting. You know, for instance, make sure if you wanna have people, let people know that if they wanna speak, they can
Public
raise their hand,
comment.
that kind of stuff, you know, and be recognized so they won't be all this talking over.
Well, we use Robert's rules?
Well, sure.
Let's just use.
This one require chairman. All right, you get your committee, former chairman, how?
Right, that's what I think, just do that. But, you know, they definitely gotta speak if they come to the meetings, if they wanna speak.
We want them to.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We want them to.
And we can meet here, they can set up there, and those of us who are attending can sit out here and just be information or real life situations or instances that we've had in the past.
But hopefully it'll be good for everybody, you know, as far as the changes or non-changes.
I don't
But
think we're gonna have as much public participation in this committee as we are the other one.
No.
Fireworks,
Exactly.
sidewalks and so forth. I think those are gonna get interesting.
But like I said, go back to the first part of it is, we still gotta address what we didn't finish about somebody to make sure these are done, the other ones are done, whoever it may be. Some people want certain people, some people don't. So, let's see what happens there. So, anything else y'all got? I vote we adjourn if we ain't got nothing else.
I think we can adjourn.
I think so too. Thank y'all for in our helping us with this committee meeting.